Okay, for lesson 8, it's all about graphics and objects, some illustrations. So pictures, other objects, picture styles, picture effects, graphic effects, wrapping text, picture backgrounds, screenshots, shapes, smart art, formatting smart art, and moving objects around. So a lot of stuff that's going to be on the Insert tab. So if we wanted to insert a picture, what happens is it gets embedded onto our Word page. So let's just go to Insert Pictures. And what do we want to insert? Go to the Downloads folder. Give me a second to get to our folder here. Let's do the family on the airplane. So we can insert a picture. Know that when we're done using this, so we're just gonna move on. I'm gonna click my insertion point in the bottom right and then hit enter a couple times. And now we'll be off it and we can type text if we wanted to. Let's go back to the Insert tab now. And in the Illustrations group, click Screenshot. And we could just click Available Windows, and it's just going to screenshot a different tab that's open. So go ahead and click that and see what we get. You guys will probably get Chrome if you have it. Otherwise, if nothing's there, I had my file explorer up in the background, so that's why it did that for me. We can also go Insert, Screenshot, do a screen clipping here, and then whatever was behind Word, I could do a weird one size like that, and just snip our screen into a Word doc as well. But we're gonna rotate and mess with our first picture. So let's go back up to that family on the airplane. It's a little big, and we want to be able to resize it to the size we want. So Picture Tools Format tab on the ribbon. And all the way at the far right, let's make our height 4.9. And what happens when we do that? The width also gets bigger, right? If I make it smaller, the width also gets smaller. So let's just type 3.5, see how that looks. That fits a little bit better. Now, if we wanted those to not move at the same time, you're going to want that to happen so the aspect stays the same and it's not all warped when we change the size. But you can click the dialog box and you would just hit uncheck this lock aspect ratio. And if I were to do that, now when I make it wider, it looks weird. So that's what the locking and unlocking the aspect ratio here on the sides, we usually want to leave that checked. So just to the left of the size group is a range group. Let's click rotate. And if you hover over 90, it shows you the 4 options there. We can flip it horizontally or vertically and kind of make the view change. So horizontally doesn't look terrible. It just kind of makes it look like the plane's going the other way. So let's flip it horizontally. Let's click crop right next to size and then crop. And then you just click the black lines. Let's drag in from the left. We don't need that extra space there. Let's drag in from the right. We don't need that extra space over there. More of a box photo versus a rectangle. And when I'm done, I can just hit enter. And that crops out the extra stuff that we don't want. Let's click the rotate drop down, go to more rotation options. So we have height, width, rotate, and then there's a degrees. Let's rotate it 350. So it should just be kind of slanted down to the left. So we just went to rotate, rotation options, changed it to 350. Let's add a style. So in the center of the ribbon, we see picture styles. Plenty of options there to choose from. I'm going to hit that drop down for more, and you'll be able to see all the different pre-made options. And if I hover, it'll show me what it's going to look like if I choose that. So go ahead and pick one that you like. So these pre-made styles, some of them will add a border, which you can see to the right of picture styles. We could add one if we wanted. So I could pick this black color here, make it a little bit thicker around the outside. Some picture effects, you might have a shadow. What else we have? Reflection's always pretty cool. Probably don't want it huge. Glow is nice. I don't like the colors they have. What about? So that's all a style is it just has border effects and sometimes a layout, but we're not going to mess with that at the moment. So any questions on picture styles? It's just like the styles that we have for text, but for images. Just for practice, click drop down for picture layout and just choose one. So I'm going to choose that one. And it just turns it into a smart art where we can add text and other stuff on the sides of it. I could change the type of layout that it is to be these hexagon ones. I don't know. So that's what changing the picture layout will do. I'm just going to leave it. I'll type family in here. Perfect. Good enough. All right, let's get down to the bottom of our document. Hit enter a couple times. And we're going to insert another picture. We're going to do that same picture again. So it's just the unedited version now. So at the far left of the ribbon, we have corrections, remove background color, all through that. So let's hit the drop down for corrections. We can sharpen or soften. Brightness and contrast, they all have previews of what they're going to look like. So let's do brightness contrast, -20 and +20 on contrast. So if you can see where I am, that's where it is. -20 brightness, +20 contrast. Kind of makes the background a little bit darker. So I'll click that to choose it. The next one we'll do, go down to drop down for color. We have different saturations, so I could click and make it basically black and white, or I can go to that far right one and just make everything pop way too much. So right now our saturation's at 100%. It's exactly as the image had. Let's just move it over one to the right to saturate 200%. We'll go back to color. Color tone, I just say the second one. So color tone, yeah, first go over one, 5300. Go back to color, we still got one more thing. We could recolor this, you know, give it like a gold shade or all these weird black and white things. Those are options. We aren't going to choose them, but just know that you can completely change the tinge or whatever you want to call it of the image. Right below color, artistic effects. We'll click that. These are kind of interesting. You can kind of hover over them and see what they'll do. My screen's not doing a good job of loading my... I want cross-stitch etching. I'm trying to find it. I think it's this one here. No. Nobody finds where it's at. Am I blind or I just can't find it? There it is. Third column, fourth row. So it kind of just puts lines throughout the image to somewhat make it look like maybe somebody drew it, but not really. So let's say we just want the family, nothing behind them. Click remove background. I'll give it a second. It kind of has to think for a second. So right now, it's done a decent job. Let's click mark areas to keep. And your mouse is going to turn into a pencil. So for some reason, like this girl's hand isn't there. So I'm going to click around that. Maybe draw around this lady's hat. Hopefully that adds it in. Oh. Oh my gosh. The one thing that's weird for this one is that that girl's shirt is pink. So like, hopefully the more I click on it, it kind of starts to realize, there we go. Maybe we don't want her legs to disappear. But then for some reason when I do that, this is why Photoshop is much better All right, I'm going to call it good and hit keep changes. So a very, very rough version of it. Mine's terrible. I don't know how good your guys' has got, but I'm embarrassed to say that that's what my work was. It's so much better in Photoshop. But that's how it goes. We still have this huge area around it though. So I'm going to go back to crop. We're going to move all this space we don't want. We don't need all that white space, especially when we add text next. So where do I wrap text at? So if our image is selected, just to the right of it, that little square is how we can change our text wrapping. Or in the arrange group, we have wrap text, and that's how we can change if it is only top and bottom, or if it can go all the way around it, so on and so forth. Let's click off that and hit enter enough times till we're on a new sheet of paper. Go back to the insert tab. Right next to online pictures is shapes. Click one that you want to put in. Except a line. Don't do any of the lines because none of those are shapes. We want a full-on shape. So after you have chosen a shape, your mouse is going to turn into a black crosshair, and then all you do is click, hold, and drag. And when you let go, it gets put in. So how many, no one did anything really that's going to be, your heart stayed perfect. My stars are all disformed, right? So if I want that to stay perfect when I put that star in, I will hold shift and I can't make it off and weird. It stays as perfect as it can be. So some things with shapes, just like all our other images on any object, we can click up here and rotate it. So if you had a heart or something, you want it turned over to the side or something, we could do that. We can resize at the far right of the ribbon. So I'm going to just make mine 4x4 because I have something that's kind of square. Now on the ribbon, we see shape styles. Hit that more button. Pick one you like. Or if you wanted to add your own shape fill, you could pick your own color and then your own outline. And then any shape effects, so just like we had earlier, I could put some glow on it. And then since we have the shape, it's an object, we can use position to put it anywhere on the page. We can wrap text around it. Real quick, hit insert shapes and draw one more. And then I want you guys to watch my screen. So I have these two. What if I want my star to not be behind this? Okay, I can either click on this and hit send backwards, or I could have clicked on this and said bring forwards. So this one is transparent, the style that I chose. If I chose that black, you wouldn't be able to see it. But the shape style was transparent, so that's why you can kind of see through that. But that's bring forward and send back. The other thing we can do, if I always want these to be just like that, or if, let's say, I wanted this one to always be in the middle of it. If I were to click my star, they're not going to move together. So if I select one, I hold Control and select the other. See how they're both selected now. I can either right click and go to group, or right up here is group, and I choose that, and now they're together. I can still edit them separately if I click on them, but they're now one object, and that's called grouping. One thing for fill, let's go down to texture and just put a random texture in one of your shapes. I love wood grain. There's like a cork effect. Yeah, see, that's too close. And they all have names. Let's click enter enough times to begin on a new page again. We are going to go to Insert tab, choose Smart Art, which is just to the right of Shapes. Insert tab, Smart Art. We have all the options on the left of the types of Smart Art graphics we could choose from. So let's go to Hierarchy on the left, and then just double click that first one. So in that top box, we could just click in it. I'm going to type president, if I spell it right. And then that one that kind of sticks out, we'll just call it like assistant. And then the bottom three, we could do CEO, CFO, COO. So Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Operating Officer. So some things with Smart Art, it can be frustrating sometimes to get it to look exactly how you want. If I click on this COO, I could hit in this Create Graphic group, move up. So he would go to the left of CFO, or I could promote him, put him above everybody else, or I could demote him and he goes below everybody else. I can add a shape up there to add another person, and then we could hit promote. Now I have 4 people below, or I could demote that person, add another shape. We have 2 people below. So this add shape and promote, demote, move up and down is how we can add and remove shapes right up here. The text pane, if that happens to not show up, that's where we can add it. But go ahead and change the color to a scheme that you would like to use. And then maybe change the Smart Art style. They have some 3D ones that don't look too bad. The color is unfortunate. It's easier if you go to the Format tab and kind of change them all yourself. But doesn't select all of them. So that's SmartArt. The other thing we can do on a SmartArt object, if I click this one cell here, I can go to Format, Shape Fill, go to Picture, from File, put this picture of people riding their bikes. And we can insert pictures into our SmartArt. That's with anything we have. This shape, let's just delete that. So my star here, I could go to, why did it disappear? Shape Fill, Picture, and what else do we have in these options? This lady and the people she just sold a house to. Inside my picture, or inside my shape. So that's another way to fill things in Word. And that would be lesson 8.